Okay. G'day, everyone. Kajibaliwan, thank you very much for being with us today. Naliwas Nil Nick Maloney, that's my name. I'm a Maliseet or Willistigway Fellow from the territories of the Wabanagi Confederacy in the Atlantic region. I work in CBC's unscripted unit. I work in documentaries and television, and I'll be one of your co-hosts for this historic event. And I'm joined by my beautiful and esteemed colleague, Melissa.
Quoi, tout le monde. Bonjour, hi, Nick. Thank you for the introduction.
Bonjour, hi.
Je suis Mélissa Marlin-Dupuis. Je suis de la Nation Inuit de la communauté de Equantit. Et je suis heureuse d'être avec vous pour le dévoilement de la première stratégie nationale autochtone de CBC Radio-Canada. Bonjour à tout le monde qui nous regarde d'ailleurs en ligne d'un océan à l'autre.
Yes, and hello to everybody who's watching across the country online. Hi, Mom. So we're going to just quickly describe ourselves for anybody that's listening in. I am a tall, somewhat handsome, bearded guy with glasses. I'm wearing a black suit. I'm like lanky a little bit. I've got a small belly. And I've got some lovely beaded accoutrements that my cousin made me.
Ah, ben, OK. T'as pas menti, ça va bien. Moi, je représente vraiment bien la nation Inuit. Je suis une femme forte. D'ailleurs, ma grand-mère m'appelait Kamastat, qui veut dire la grande bâtie. Je dirais que j'ai des cheveux moyens longs, foncés, des yeux bruns et, bien sûr, je suis une femme autochtone, donc j'ai des belles boucles d'oreilles.
Nice work. Very nice work. So before we go any further today and we really get started, I'd love to welcome Treaty 1 Chief Gordon Bluesky, who's the chief of Broken Head Ojibwe Nation, and from the Manitoba Métis Federation, the national government of the Red River Métis, Minister David Baudin.
All right, Buju, Dinawe Magradok, Wasa Gijik, Dijnakas, Mekanaktotam, Baskana Bewizi Bing Unji. I'd like to just take a moment here and acknowledge all the Treaty 1 communities, as well as Broken Head, Long Plain First Nation, Peguis First Nation, Rosa River, Saugeen and Sandy Bay, and Swan Lake First Nation, as all make up Treaty Number 1. And all are beautiful communities and have their own stories to tell of their own. I just wanted to acknowledge the CBC and the work that they're undertaking here. And as a 60 Scoop survivor, I definitely know firsthand from lived experience that our communities and our people all have wonderful stories to share. It wasn't too long ago I was here for an event for Sergeant Tommy Prince, and again, we explained at that time and expressed our hopes and desires that the true stories of our Anishinaabe and Cree and Dene and Lakota and stories beyond all of our nations start to be shared on a broader audience and broader stage. And I definitely think that our Sergeant Tommy Prince deserves that recognition as well. I'd love to see a story, a real story about a hero, not Spider-Man 15, not Superman 14, but a real true hero that helped to pave the way for the development of what they call the Special Forces in America. My community member, one of my ancestors, Sergeant Tommy Prince, who came from our small community here in Manitoba, was a part of that initial Devil's Brigade that ultimately became the Special Forces that are now feared amongst the whole world and countries. So I'd like to just acknowledge them, but I'd also like to just continue to acknowledge the stories that our communities have. You know, Baskanawe Wizibing has a story, Saugeen has a story, situé has a story. We have so many beautiful names and so many beautiful communities that I know that can share those stories as well. And I know I've seen basically the who's who of Indigenous broadcasting here. I think I've seen Roseanne or Deerchild here somewhere. And me and her actually had an experience to, there you go, Rosanna. Her and I shared an experience in Aotearoa in New Zealand, and those interactions are very important too as well. And I think those stories are also something that I think is important for us to understand, is that internationally our people are very colorful and very beautiful, and I feel like we're coming out of this time of darkness and starting to really show all of our people in their beauty. So I'd like to just say miigwech and welcome to Treaty 1 and welcome here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to my friend, Chief Blue Sky. Those are, and I concur with his storytelling that our National Métis and our First Nation and Inuit brothers and sisters were some of the greatest storytellers on the planet. And we could easily tell a story 3 days long just across the street to go and get something. And so I completely understand what he's saying, and it really brings back lots of memories. Thank you, Chief. Honored guests, welcome to Winnipeg, the heart of the Red River Métis National Homeland, the birthplace of our nation. I'm honored today to join others and also with Chief Blue Sky in opening this event. And as Red River Métis citizens, we share the responsibility of caring for the health and sustainability of our homeland with our First Nations and Inuit relatives. I wanted to commend CBC for holding this national launch event here in Winnipeg in the Red River Métis National Capital. The Red River Métis are Canada's negotiating partner in Confederation. Manitoba is the only province to have been brought into Canada by an Indigenous people based on a Bill of Rights that respected the cultural, religious, and language freedoms of all who call the region home. We're proud of our history, and we embrace every opportunity to share it with all Canadians. It's important that Canada have a national broadcaster that understands and respects the history and contributions of the Red River Métis and all Indigenous people of Canada. On behalf of the Red River Métis, I welcome CBC to our homeland and look forward to hearing more about how CBC can live up to their mandate and responsibilities. Marcy, Miigwech, thank you.
Jiwaliwin, thank you very much for that warm welcome. So I'm going to tell you that I'm not a speaker of my nation's beautiful ancestral language, Wolastoqey, but I know a little bit. And I want to share a phrase with you, which I learned from one of our beloved artists and musicians, Jeremy Dutcher. The phrase goes like this: Medjimil naka askimil skijanawiguk, which means always and forever, this is native land. And I know that wherever I go in the country, when I'm working or I'm traveling personally, I know that I am on Indigenous land. So I want to say personally that I'm very grateful to be welcomed by everybody here in Treaty 1 territory and the heart of the Métis Nation. And on behalf of CBC Radio Canada, I also want to acknowledge that we are, yes, gathered here today in Winnipeg together, located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Aninewag, the Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Dene. This is also the birthplace of the Red River Métis in the heart of their national homeland. Yeah, we acknowledge that northern Manitoba includes lands that were the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We acknowledge and express gratitude to Treaty 3 territory, Shoal Lake 39 and 40, First Nations, shout out to 39 and 40. That's the source of Winnipeg's clean drinking water. Yeah, we acknowledge and express gratitude to treaty territories which provide us with the electricity used to create this broadcast. That's how you can hear me and everybody can see us all across the country. And we really do respect the spirit and intent of treaties, treaty making, and we're committed to working with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis partners in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, something honest from both of us and from all of our colleagues.
D'ailleurs, moi j'aime.
Yeah, thank you.
He's good. Moi, j'aimerais juste rajouter quelque chose qui est très important. En tant que femme Inou, je suis honorée de marcher sur ces terres, de pouvoir être témoin aussi du travail millénaire des gardiens des territoires et de ces eaux. Alors, Chinishko maintenant à tout le monde de nous accueillir aujourd'hui.
And also, thank you to the Canadian Museum of Human Rights for hosting us. We do have a full program for you here today to celebrate this historic milestone for the public broadcaster, the launch of the CBC Radio Canada National Indigenous Strategy. Let's put our hands together for that. And the name of that strategy is Strengthening Relations and Walking Together.
Et le nom de cette stratégie en français est Tisser des liens, œuvrer ensemble.
Strengthening Relations, Walking Together honors the rich and diverse perspectives of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, and it reaffirms that CBC Radio Canada's committed to strengthening relations in a good, meaningful way. We're trying to advance truth and reconciliation. We're looking for self-determination, for active feedback. It celebrates the progress made, the invaluable lessons learned, and really where we're headed all together.
Alors, tisser des liens, œuvrer ensemble, c'est la toute première stratégie nationale autochtone de CBC et Radio-Canada. Les relations sont au cœur de cette stratégie et elles seront essentielles à sa bonne mise en œuvre. CBC Radio-Canada est engagé à mieux travailler avec les Inuits, les Métis et les Premières Nations, refléter, respecter et mettre en valeur les diverses perspectives des peuples autochtones pour faire progresser la vérité et la réconciliation.
Exactly.
Et bien sûr aussi enrichir les partenariats basés sur la confiance. Il ne faut pas oublier celle-là.
So now, to also continue the beginning of the event and start in a good way, I would love to invite Anishinaabe Elder Florence Painter to join us on stage.
Bonjour, Anin, Tansei, Kinanakominim, Kakina, Miwach, Gibmininim, Kakina. Asema, give me minigo, chip me, Pakinaman, Wagamamun Diang, chip me, Wiji Diang, Aninigo, Ejibago Sandaming, Oma Kaji Hayang. Uzoshko bineshi kwe dishni kas mako dene magan kawi kwe drongang donji kage midianishnabe kwe dao. I just want to acknowledge the tobacco that has been offered, and it's really important for us to come together and to be able to look to our future, the future of our children, as we come together in a real good way, and more in a blessed way, as we can, and I will do the invocation in my own language. Agijamanidu, Joshkobeneshi kwe dishnikas makundane magan. Kagige midianishna vekwe dao. Miwetskip minin weonjem. Gab mi mamuniang. Tagawe sema kagib mi shoshkunamagoan. Chip mi bidoan. Uma miwetchenda win mishomis. Nanakumin. Kagib mi jiang yabagit namoin. Kagib mi inoniang. Kya bijigashkez yang. Chimamun diang. Chip mi kanonigon mishomis. Kagib mi izimi jian. Kagib mi izimi jian higo. Chip mi kanon nan. Mi watch bimi kit kinagego. Kagib mi bagit nam moyang. Huma aking. Chip mi nishamang. An mishomis kan sondani mang gabimi inawea sema mi watch mi kidwan ye imagap mi avindo ingem kimishomis nanik go komisnanik chip mi nigan shkamagwing chip mi andotagwing chip mi natamagwing agem idi chip kichigishung gabmi now awea sema awegi isis Tibikigizis, Ingianangonsak, Kabi Magap Mia Ayot, Chip me, Wichi wing, chip me, Nanata Magwing, chip me a penny wing, yeah. I gave him Mama Nanake, got me in a morning, Saman, me wetchip me Nangit, Kabi Mab Mew, on Dachi wing, Kabi Ma, Mew Jashami wing, Ngwe, got me. Kiwi siot, chip me bit the magwing, nen, me chiwinian, imonjaki. In end game, ashkion, kabig up me mamun among, nimishomis, chip me wichi tiang, chip me na na tama tuang, chip me inge bagaken damang anin gave me no new tuang where matiswin. Inge go nagadenjigan naning, chip me pick tuan, inge chip me mamwen damang where matiswin. Chip me most tuang day naning aning gejo nishing yev matiswin ga give me is me young. I am new in aning, chip me most young, mishomis, nongum, umagab me mamun young, me watch be me knocking gag, I give me nigani the moat, chip me beat the magwing, yeah, chip me back in the moat, we know. Unje, udiji nyong, is a mishomis, me watch give me go, give me the knock, me watch give me make it. A prayer of greetings, a prayer of acknowledgements for all the gifts that we have been given as a people. It is a beautiful life that we have as we carry it forward for the future generations of our people as we share the land with one another. And everything that we have with one another is shared openly, and that it's a real good life to be who we are as a people. Miigwech kinanako minnim gisawani minnim. Miigwech.
J'aimerais inviter l'aînée de la nation Inuit, Martha Pete, maintenant, à monter sur scène.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is so nice to be here. It's so nice to see familiar faces. A lot of you I have met, a lot of you I haven't. A lot of famous faces. I see your face. I look at you. Oh yeah, I know him. I know her. So many famous faces, as if they're going to recognize me or see me, that they know me by seeing my face. So it's really nice to see everybody. Tayo matun ngayong nako hitamani tayo makulak tam na ikinerap ko at kunakluta tayo sumana kulak ato katakhi malagaptigo kulak kullang mot kihianig ublo atamat unno atamat himakatagapta ukwangi man kulak ikihimalugo tayo sumani tam na ikumapitoa redakon tileoksuta nakaleoksuta mukpara leoksuta mukpara tukihingin na ruphiw mukpara palauga at konaksuta kullang megtayo sumani atukatahe malrapta. I'm going to be lighting the kullak. The kullak in them days was very, very important to us, to the Inuit across Nunavut. It kept the igloo warm, and so the wick burns all day with oil, and it kept the house warm, it kept the babies warm, children warm. It was our only source of heat, our only source of light when it gets dark in the wintertime. And it's was so important in a way that it was the only source we had for making hot water. After the Hudson's Bay Company arrived for making bannock, fry bannock, and also if we wanted to boil some charfish, caribou, polar bear, seal meat, it was what we used. So my name is Martha Pete. My real name is Tutkanatsia. Tutkanatsia was my grandmother's name. I was named for her. And it was the only name I had from the time I was born till I was about 5 or 6. That's when the missionaries came, and they held their services in an igloo. And that was when we were asked to have, be given a Christian name. So my mom and dad chose Martha, which up in Nunavut, all across Nunavut, it's pronounced Mata. We don't have an H in Inuktitut syllabics, so it's Mata. And I have been living in Winnipeg now for the past 34 years. I come from a little tiny community of Taluyuak in the Kitakmute region. We were the last to have modern things, because Kitakmute region is right in the middle. So East and the West had access to material things from, like mainly in Scotland, I guess, or France. The sailors got to them and gave them some things like metals and tools and some materials. But being from the center of Nunavut, right in the middle, we were the last to get those things. I remember when the plane used to come in once a year, drop things by parachute. And so I come from, as well as an elder, I'm a traditional knowledge keeper. It's what I lived for the first years of my life. I learned from Mom and Dad. So I'm going to be lighting the kulak. I should explain the wick I'm going to be lighting is Arctic cotton. It only grows up in the Arctic. It's a little white flower. It's like cotton with a long stem. And it grows all over the tundra, the wet parts of the land. And we pick them to use for wicks, because them days there was no cotton, no nothing. We couldn't buy anything. And the oil is the seal blubber oil. The seal blubber is pounded with a rock, or if we had hammer, with a hammer, we pound on it outside, and the oil, the seal blubber liquefies, and that's what we put into the vessel part of the kulak. And the soapstone, of course, is, my dad used to go out on a dock team to go and pick some to get a sled full of soapstone and made kullaks for my mom, my grandmother, our relatives. So it's very, very special. It's the only kind of heat source that I knew until I was about 6 or 7. This was made to manipulate the wick, because if the wick is too high, it'll burn a lot of soot. So we put the flames down, and then during the night, my mom only had a small piece of it lit during the night, and she puts the wick down. And then in the morning, she puts a wick up. And there is a teapot, metal teapot, kettle over it, and that's, by the time us kids wake up, it's ready for drinking. Thank you. And I want to thank Florence for the beautiful words to start this off. Thank you. Kuya na kuya.
And to carry on in a good way, I'd like to now invite Red River Métis Elder Oliver Boulette to the stage.
All Indigenous people have been given a musical instrument by God, our Creator. And First Nations, Inuit and Métis in my province here have been given the drum. And the Métis have been given the fiddle. Our European fathers brought it here, and it's our instrument. And I'm told there are some South American Indigenous people that have the accordion. And we all use our instrument to celebrate, to honor, to socialize, to mourn, and to pray with. And today, special day here, I'm going to play it so that God, our Creator, will hear the beautiful prayers that the two elders before me had said, Elder Pete and Elder Painter. But I'm also going to play a tune in celebration, because we're here for a really fine day, and as Métis people, when good things happen, we celebrate. Now, the tune that I'm going to play for you is one that was written here. We're just outside of this building is the Red River, and one of the most famous fiddle tunes in our part of the country is the Red River Jig, and it's some people say it's crooked. It's got an interesting, different kind of rhythm. A lot of people that hear Métis music say we play a crooked fiddle. It's not like classical or anything like that, real smooth. And, but we can make people dance. And when we do something great, we celebrate and have a great time. So today, I'm gonna do it for two things. I'm gonna ask God, our Creator, to hear the prayers of our elders and answer them. And I'm also going to play a tune in celebration of this great day and this great announcement today. Thank you.
Wow. This feels sacred. This is a good space.
Tchineshko maintenant à nos aînés. Ces moments sont super importants pour débuter une rencontre de la bonne manière. Et je tiens à dire que d'entendre ce qui nous unit, notre culture, mais surtout notre langue, d'entendre des mots qui existent sur ce territoire et que j'entends dans mon territoire, je trouve ça fantastique. Oh, j'étais encore trop émue, excusez. Pour élaborer cette stratégie nationale autochtone, nous avons mis en place un processus pour échanger avec les peuples autochtones d'un océan à l'autre. En 2022, on a invité les leaders, les membres du public, les membres du personnel, les créateurs et créatrices de contenu et d'autres forces dynamiques de l'industrie médiatique Inuit, Métis et des Premières Nations à donner leur avis sur la façon dont CBC Radio-Canada pourrait mieux les représenter et réfléchir aussi leur culture, leurs intérêts et leurs droits. Ces rencontres ont été essentielles et ont orienté nos choix et ont permis de définir les piliers et les initiatives à privilégier. Tisser les liens, œuvrer ensemble, ça veut tout dire.
This 3-year national strategy is our very first roadmap to meaningfully strengthen relations with First Nations, Inuit and Métis, our partners all across from coast to coast to coast. And this should impact all of our operations. This will change the way that the public broadcaster is building relationships with Indigenous peoples. And rest assured, we know that this is a journey. It's a journey, not a destination, just like reconciliation that way. This is a process that we're going through. So this strategy is going to help us demonstrate our commitment to upholding the rights of Indigenous peoples, something that I'm very proud to say, and I know that all of my colleagues across the corporation, people that have worked on this for a couple of years, longer than that, decades before, the people that informed everything related to our rights, self-determination, we're all very proud by this. So we're going to be doing this by engaging in 4 key areas. There's 4 pillars holding up all of the historic weight to this strategy. And they're called this: narratives, people, relationships, and truth and reconciliation.
Et 3 années, bien, ça peut sembler très court, mais si on veut pouvoir se rendre au bout du chemin, on doit commencer un portage à la fois et pouvoir discuter à chaque étape. Il y a 10 ans, quand moi j'ai commencé justement à travailler avec les médias, j'étais une militante. Aujourd'hui, je suis une animatrice. La leçon que j'en tire, c'est que ça ne devrait jamais être difficile de se faire entendre. J'ai l'espoir que cette stratégie aidera justement à ce que la rivière soit plus facile à naviguer pour toutes nos communautés.
Yeah, this is going to help pave the way. It's going to calm the river before for people, anybody that comes to CBC and Radio-Canada in the future.
Alors, nous sommes heureux d'accueillir du Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, Grand Chief Cathy Merrick, pour nous dire quelques mots.
Cathy Merrick, to the stage.
Yeah, Cathy Merrick. Je pense qu'on l'a pris par surprise.
Yugosane, Nanaskamun, Epis, Wichavitaguk, Minepis, Witapmitaguk, Kisagegon, Yanemutamag, Anuts. Gagino is a Tagipis, Mama Wiak, Kisagegon, Yanemutamag, Tindiminanagutse. Good afternoon. I'm Grand Chief Cathy Merrick for the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. And I spoke to you in my language that I grew up with. And I'm so very proud that I'm able to speak the language that has been taught to me. I want to thank Chief Gordon Blue Sky and Minister Bouden for the land acknowledgement on Treaty 1 territory, the land of our ancestors that have roamed this land for time immemorial. I also want to thank my elder, Florence Painter, for the opening prayer in the beautiful language, and I can understand that we are related through language. Elder Martha Pete, for your beautiful work and your beautiful story that you're able to share with us. And Elder Oliver Boulette for the opening song. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here today with my fellow Grand Chiefs, and our Inuit relatives, and our Métis relatives. For too long, the voices of First Nations, our stories, experiences, and perspectives have been manipulated as weapons to inflict deception and justify oppression. The specific stories and experiences of First Nations have been told and retold repeatedly without our consent, using a language that actively displaces First Nations from claiming ownership of our lived experiences. Language creates our reality by establishing shared values, reinforcing the status quo, revealing possibilities, and shaping our history, identity, and experiences. I appreciate that the CBC is attentive in acknowledging its role in contributing to the unilateral narrative of the First Nations experience in what is now Canada. Words hold incredible power, and language tells us who we are and where we've been, but also defines the boundaries of our aspirations and potential accomplishments in the future, which is why it is essential to include the specific voice of First Nations at these tables. And I am grateful for the opportunity to walk a new path that fully acknowledges, respects, and contributes to a more inclusive Canada. A path that honors the specific truths, experiences, and sovereignty of First Nations in this region. In saying this, I expect that as a true conduit of reconciliation, the CBC will work to ensure that the CBC Indigenous branch includes the employment of First Nations among its staff. And it's my sincere hope that there will be no more cuts to Indigenous services programming. To be a true ally, the CBC must act honestly. And this is the promise the CBC has made. So this is the standard myself, as the Grand Chief of Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, expect as well. Reconciliation necessitates action and commitment. And I am so glad to be here today to witness the beginning of this shared journey. And reconciliation is the language of change. So we must all adapt to that principle. I have seen my people, and I have seen CBC. It was our one and only channel in our First Nation communities growing up. So that was something that was always held high by our people. And today is time for that change. And today, our people will be included. And we will tell our stories. And we will tell the truth about our people. So nanasko mon, eki pese, wichewitagok, eki pese, ayamitagok, mine pese, witapamitagok. Kinanasko mitnawa, egosane. Thank you. And I wanted to show you my skirt.
Now as well, some more words from Inuit Tapiri Kanatami. We've got, please welcome President National Obed.
Nakomik. Nusakud, everyone. As I've been introduced, my name is National Obed, President of Inuit Tapiri Kanatami. And just as Mata had said earlier, why I'm Natan is because there aren't H's in our language. So Natanai or Natan is the way in which Nathaniel is pronounced in Inuktitut. Thank you so much to our elders. And also thank you so much for welcoming me on Treaty 1 territory and also the homelands of the Métis. I always am so thankful to meet my peers and meet my fellow Indigenous peoples when I travel across this country. And I'm heartened that there are so many First Nations and Métis who are following along with us, just as I, as an Inuk, am following along with the news across this country and the fight for Indigenous rights, along with First Nations and Métis. And CBC helps bring these stories together for us all. So I do want to really highlight those who bring us the news and those who do it well. And I know there are a number of First Nations, Inuit and Métis who work in the CBC in any capacity here today. And I want to just give my heartfelt thanks to all that each and every one of you do. I also know that in our homeland, in Inuit Nunangat, many reporters become celebrities, become household names, are people that are recognizable when they walk down the street or even when you hear their voice. And we are so thankful as Inuit to the role that CBC has played in establishing Inuktitut services across Inuit Nunangat, in being there and reporting what is happening across Inuit Nunangat in our language, and of course with Inuit being front and center, providing those stories along the way. So much so that when I first started working at Inuit Tapiri Kanatami, my political boss was Josie Kusagok, and my boss was Whit Fraser. And Whit Fraser is now known most as being the partner of Her Excellency, our Governor-General of Canada, Mary Simon, also somebody who's worked for CBC. But in those conversations, Whit would always say, well, what's the story? And it was such a journalistic way of going about politics in Ottawa for Inuit, but it made a lot of sense to me. What didn't make sense was when he started talking about the telex. And I think that was very important to CBC at one time. So that to say that many Inuit leaders have come through CBC and have worked in CBC and have championed Inuit through different roles. Our language is one of the strongest Indigenous languages in the country. We have the second most speakers of an Indigenous language in the country, and we have the highest percentage of speakers per capita in the country. This isn't done through education. This isn't done through legislation or federal policy. This is done through resilience, through pride in our language, but the CBC has fostered spaces where Inuktitut is spoken and is heard across Inuit Nunangat or wherever Inuit live now with the advent of online platforms. I think it's important to note, since we are here in the Human Rights Museum, and thank you also to the Human Rights Museum for hosting this, that Canada still does not adequately uphold our rights when it comes to language for First Nations, Inuit, or Métis. The CBC could cease any of its work in Inuktitut tomorrow, and there is no recourse for Inuit. We now live in a country where one of its jurisdictions, Nunavut, has a majority Inuit population, and that Inuit population speaks Inuktitut as the majority mother tongue, yet the federal government does not recognize it as a service that it needs to provide to Inuit in the territory in Inuktitut. We really pushed through the Indigenous Languages Protection Act to have official language status granted to Inuktitut across Inuit Nunangat. We've also tried unsuccessfully through revisions to the Official Languages Act. But this, I think, is an important point on the release of the strategy today, is that CBC's standing with us, even if it isn't under legislation or a right that has been implemented in this country, means a great deal and will mean a great deal moving forward. And it is a solemn, I think, duty that the CBC has and has done quite well with, but can do better, as we see within the text of the strategy, to uphold Indigenous languages in this country. So we all can do better. And I think this strategy talks about that, especially when it comes to the recruitment of employees and the treatment of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis in the workplace, but also in the reporting of the news. I think we still live in a country where Indigenous peoples are not widely understood, whether it's still a lapse from a lack of education within school systems or an apathy within the general public about the lands on which they live or the people in which they share them with. We still have a long way to go in fair and equitable reporting on First Nations, Inuit, and Métis stories in this country. Reporting the news and providing Indigenous perspectives on the news is not just for Indigenous people who work at CBC, it is for every last employee. And I think that the strength of this strategy in its implementation is the ability to have this reach wherever CBC provides service and whatever room CBC is occupying. This could be from the national news desks, to sports, to weather, to any of the regional offices across this country. Everyone needs to play a role in ensuring that our stories are told faithfully to the Canadian public and that our rights are upheld within the storytelling. You also have a vast number of archives that hold treasures from First Nations, Inuit, and Métis who have shared stories, who have given perspectives, who have told teachings through your platform over the last 50 and 60 years. We look forward to partnering with you as the National Inuit Organization in working on disseminating these stories and learning from these archives and sharing the archives that we have that would be complementary to you. I celebrate the release of this strategy by also saying that we pledge to work as best we can with CBC at all levels across Inuit Nunangat or wherever our paths cross when it comes to providing the perspectives that we need to share with CBC, but also understanding how to work with CBC as partners in our communities or wherever it is that Inuit stories are told. Nakomik.
Nous avons maintenant le plaisir d'accueillir Minister David Baudin du Manitoba Métis Federation, the National Government of the Red River Métis, MMF.
Thank you. I don't often get the mic 2 times in one event, so I might have to bogart it this time a little bit, just saying. I have 2 small stories to tell that are one is touching to me, and the other is involving CBC. So the touching is for Nitan. Almost 30 years ago, I had a elder translator basically sing me the alphabet of your language on the phone. He wanted to talk to my boss at the time, and I said, I should be a couple of minutes. You can, we'll talk. And he offered to sing the alphabet, and it's 72 characters long. And so needless to say, it took quite a while to get through it. But I just wanted to bring that, because it was a fond memory. I did meet that translator afterwards when they came to Winnipeg, and so that's my most fondest memory right now. The other story is Hockey Night in Canada, 1971. 6 years old. I can look through the hole in the wall to watch the hockey game when I'm supposed to be in bed. Of course, it was on the English channel, and it was Toronto Maple Leafs. The elders clear the room. I run out, quickly change it to the French radio, I think it was channel 3 at the time, and quickly run back into the bedroom, and all is well. So I thought. They were watching me do this. And so I didn't get away with it. But again, one of those early moments of CBC that, brought me to conclude that there was more than one language in the world. I thought it was just French. I'm 5 years old. What do I know? But so again, thank you for allowing me to speak. And again, my name is David Baudin, and I'm one of 2 regional directors of the Winnipeg region for the Manitoba Métis Federation, the national government of the Red River Métis. I know President Chartrand wanted to be here today, but his schedule required him to be elsewhere. So on his behalf and on behalf of my cabinet and colleagues, I extend this greeting to you all. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of my government and citizens, and welcome all of you to Winnipeg. And this is the very heart of the Red River Métis homeland. I want to thank Elders Florence Painter, Martha Pete, and Aller Boulette for their words and their music for opening this event in a good way. I want to also extend a greeting to all our dignitaries that are here. I don't know everybody's name, but I'm extending that because that's the respectful thing to do. And from where I come from, we always thank our elders and we thank our dignitaries. While I represent Winnipeg, it's the largest region of the MMF. I'm also here to represent all our regions, from Thompson to the Interlake, from southeast to the northwest, all our citizens who live and work and play beyond our borders. I don't think there is a single Canadian who doesn't have childhood memories of CBC, and so that prompted me to tell that little piece of the story. CBC network is part of the fabric of Canada. It makes it part of this and for the nation of the Red River Métis. Think about the impact of that. CBC was literally the only lifeline to the broader Canadian experience that could be found in some communities. In 1958, CBC first opened its northern services with an eye to engaging Indigenous people in the north, and in 1960, it began to offer Indigenous languages services there. It wasn't until 2004 that the Prairie Aboriginal Content Unit, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, was established by CBC to develop Indigenous content for radio and television. 20 years later, we are here today to bear witness to the launch of CBC's Indigenous Strategy, a document that covers the length and breadth of CBC's intent to build on its relationship with the Indigenous peoples of Canada. I'm excited to see where this strategy will take CBC, but I'm equally excited to see how the Red River Métis can travel with CBC as it begins this journey. We know that CBC's obligations to the Indigenous people of Canada are real. They are outlined in the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. They are further detailed in the report from the National Inquiry on Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls. And yes, there are specific obligations as a public broadcaster in the United Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. This is the burning platform that exists for CBC to complete reimagining its relationship with Indigenous people, including the Red River Métis. But we also recognize that obligations are not the sole reason for CBC to reimagine itself through this new lens. We recognize that this is a sincere effort to bridge gaps, both past and present. We commend the work that CBC has done through its investigative journalism, uncovering the facts about those who are stealing our identity. This fraud is existential to us, and having the thieves exposed is critical. We respect and appreciate that CBC Indigenous exists and seeks to tell the stories of our people. But there can be no question that more work needs to be done. Our people, the Red River Métis, have a long history of being marginalized, forgotten, dismissed, and discounted. We have persisted as a nation because of our own spirit, our collective fight to remember who we are and to share our proud history. It is time that we have real and true partners who can work with us to share our stories so that we can be included, remembered, drawn into the Canadian story, and counted as an important part of our country's shape today. Our children need to see themselves represented on television, both in journalistic roles and in the entertainment and educational content. And yes, we need to see ourselves represented in senior leadership roles in CBC. We need to be able to access our own history as documented by CBC over the many decades of coverage, features, documentaries, and television shows we love. We also need to have the opportunity to reflect on this content with CBC, and that in doing so with us, so that it is accurate and informed by our perspective. These are not small tasks. The road to reconciliation is long, and we know it starts with truth. It also starts with relationships, building trust, and fostering new dialogue. We need to be able to tell our stories with CBC. It is only through these kinds of collaborative partnerships that the Red River Métis lands can be brought into focus. If this is done well, not only does it create the relationship outlined in this Indigenous strategy, it has the potential to create an axis upon which the Canadian perception of who we are is fundamentally transformed. For too long, we've had to carry this work alone. We invite CBC to join us, shoulder some of the work, and be real partners for real change. It's all about hope and a brighter future. L'espoir du avenir meilleur. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Miigwech. Thank you.
All right. We're also joined by Grand Chief Jerry Daniels of the Southern Chiefs Association organization. And Grand Chief's going to come and say a few words as well.
Bonjour, Dévoilement Maghruk, Ogimam Kodesh Nakas, Kaganush Deog Dunji, Benassi Dudem. Miigwech Gijimani Tunungum, our thank you, Creator, for another beautiful day. Want to just recognize Grand Chief Merrick and Seti for being here. It's want to just say good afternoon or good evening. My name is Jerry Daniels, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a member of Long Plain First Nation, and I've been Grand Chief for the Southern Chiefs Organization for 7 years now. And it represents 34 Anishinaabe and Dakota nations. And I want to just thank the Canadian Broadcasting Company for inviting me to share some words with you on behalf of SCO, the Southern Chiefs Organization. I want to acknowledge the elders who are with us here today, and a special thank you to Florence Painter, Martha Pete, and Oliver Boulette, and Norman Mead for the prayers and the blessings and getting us started. We're grateful for the support that our elders and our knowledge keepers continue to provide and the direction that they've shared with us. Also want to acknowledge Gordon Blue Sky, Chief Gordon Blue Sky of Broken Head Ojibwe Nation, also his story and his time with the 60 Scoop, a very important example of the challenges that we face. Minister David Boudin of the Métis Federation. Did I say that right, Minister? Yeah. I want to acknowledge you. And President Nathan Obed, is that right, Nate? Of ITK, I'll just keep it there. Minister Andrew Carrier, did I see him? Is he here? Is he here? Not here today? Okay. Well, we'll see him around, I'm sure. I know the National Chief would have loved to be here. I don't think she's here, but I just want to acknowledge her, being from our region. We really have a lot of hope for her and the work that's taking place at the Assembly First Nations. And to give a special acknowledgement to Catherine Tate, President and CEO of CBC Radio and Canada, for inviting me to this event and for her support of a National Indigenous Strategy. Thank you to the CBC team members who have organized today's event, this special event for the launch of the National Indigenous Strategy. SCO is very, very grateful for the positive work that CBC is doing. Whether it's on radio, television, on web-based platforms, the CBC has taken steps to elevate the voices of First Nations in a respectful way. They have developed an Indigenous Pathways to Journalism training program that works to increase the number of Indigenous reporters in their newsrooms across Canada. Their 2023 project called Mother, Sister, Daughter tracked the implementation of the 231 calls for justice that came out of the National Inquiry of Indigenous Women and Girls. The CBC, as our national broadcaster, carries out important work, and so having an Indigenous strategy is very, very important. Our SCO member nations will be watching and listening to the CBC to ensure our voices are reflected at all levels. Recovering from colonialism is a very, very complex journey. It is essential for us to work together in a good way. We know media has the power to be a positive influencer across our country, but there's much healing work that needs to be done and trust that needs to be built. I recognize the people at the CBC who have reached out to SCO in the months leading up to this strategy. You asked us to join us, and you did take time to listen to our feedback, and so we're very, very thankful to the team at CBC. Thank you for joining us in an ongoing dialogue, and we will work to build a stronger relationship with you. And I recognize that the many team members who are supporting this very, very sacred work as well, because knowledge transfer and story sharing is really a sacred relationship between those who are telling the story and those who are listening. It's very impactful. And so I look forward to hearing about the journey of CBC as you move forward with your strategy. Truly honored to be here with all of you today. May you keep the next 7 generations in mind as you work to introduce the strategy and bring a positive and lasting change to our national broadcaster. Thank you. Merci miigwech and padamaye.
Dans toutes les cultures autochtones, l'art, la musique, la danse, le chant et les diverses expressions artistiques prennent une place importante. Depuis des années, J'aime répéter que pour bâtir une relation qui est une vraie relation, eh bien, nous devons pouvoir manger, danser, boire ensemble. Si on ne vit pas du quotidien, là, la vraie vie, cette énergie, sommes-nous vraiment en relation? Donc, je vais vous présenter Jade Turner, une artiste de Roots Country, membre de la nation Cri Mississippiwistik, et je l'invite à venir sur la scène.
Tense. All right. You plugged in? All right, you guys can hear him? Yeah? Out in the schoolyard, I got a real heart. It cut me to the core. That's where I learned how to keep my head down. I'm not doing that anymore. Whatever the cost is, I'm gonna cut my losses and get right back to being me. Turn off the voices, make my own choices of who I wanna be. They can hate if they wanna hate, but I ain't gonna break, 'cause that's just dead weight. Feeling I'm not good enough, that sure is real tough. I don't like feeling this way. Looking at the big screen, but I don't see me. Yeah, something's gotta change. Whatever the cost is, I'm gonna cut my losses and get right back to being me. Turn off the voices, make my own choices of who I wanna be. They can hate if they wanna hate, but I ain't gonna break. That's just dead weight. Whatever the cost is, gonna cut my losses and get right back to being me. Turn off the voices, make my own choices of who I wanna be. They can hate if they wanna hate, but I ain't gonna break. That's just dead weight. Oh, that's just dead weight. Oh, yeah. That's just dead weight. Thank you.
Thank you. That was incredible. Jay Williwan, Jay Turner. Yeah, absolutely. We're running short on a little bit of time today, so we're gonna keep trucking on. This really is such an historic journey. We still have lots of discussion to come, and I know for sure that this is going to require an incredible amount of leadership. We have a lot of support. We have leadership just from within CBC, everybody that's represented here today, and the plan will not come together. We will not find success. We will not find self-determination without that key leadership. So in that spirit, I am very pleased to welcome the president of CBC Radio Canada to the stage, Catherine Tate.
The producer in me says, who didn't fix the squeaky step? Good afternoon, bonjour, danse, anin et anin, una sakut. Good afternoon. And thank you for that introduction, Nick. And thank you, Jade Turner. And thank you, my two supporters here. Jade, that was an amazing performance. What a very, very powerful lyric, so thank you. And thank you, elders, Painter, Pete, Boulette, and Meade. Chief Blue Sky, Minister Baudin, Grand Chief Merrick, President Obed, Grand Chief Daniels, MKO Grand Chief Garrison, and special guest. And a special thanks to the chairman of the board of CBC Radio-Canada, Michael Goldblum. Honored guests, it is really my most sincere pleasure to welcome you to this historic moment, the launch of the first National Indigenous Strategy at CBC Radio-Canada. Le choix de Winnipeg pour tenir le dévoilement de cette stratégie nationale autochtone allait de soi. Ce territoire occupe une place centrale dans l'histoire d'un bon nombre de peuples de Premières Nations et dans celle de la nation métisse. C'est aussi le foyer de plusieurs communautés inuites. Et je me réjouis de pouvoir faire cette annonce ici même au Musée canadien pour les droits de la personne. Je tiens d'ailleurs à remercier Aïcha Khan, présidente directrice générale du musée, pour son accueil chaleureux. I didn't realize it was all written out there. So it was here in Winnipeg where we held our first public engagement session back in April 2022 to hear directly from First Nations, Inuit and Métis on how your public broadcaster can serve you better. To everyone who shared their wisdom with us, thank you. So many Indigenous community members and leaders have been so generous with their time and willingness to help us learn. I am grateful for the conversations we have had already and for the conversations to come. I want to acknowledge, and you're wondering, why are these two women standing next to me? I want to acknowledge two board members besides me. Marie Wilson, former commissioner of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and a true trailblazer at CBC North, and Jennifer Moore-Rattray, also a former CBC journalist, who was the executive director of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and is also Chief Operating Officer of the Southern Chiefs Organization. They have provided me and the entire CBC Radio-Canada team with invaluable guidance and inspiration. Marie, Jennifer, thank you for all that you have taught me and for helping to drive these important conversations at the public broadcaster. And although we are launching the first strategy today, we are building on a legacy of Indigenous programs and services that has run for decades. To guide us as we walk the path of this strategy sets out, I'm very proud to announce the creation of a dedicated Indigenous office at CBC Radio-Canada. Robert Doan. Robert, where are you? Stand up. Robert has his grandmother here with him today. Don't tell me he's not in the room. Oh, yeah. I can't believe you missed your moment, man. Robert Doan, Senior Director of the National Indigenous Strategy, will lead this very first Indigenous Bureau. And he has led us to where we are today. Robert, Naka Bertrand, and so many, Nick Malone, a lot of you, all of you, have worked tirelessly to develop this strategy. So I thank you, thank you, thank you. This office will chart our future, and it will also address our past. We know that part of our new relationship must include what we are calling a journey of understanding. A review of the past 80 years of our archives will be conducted to better understand our representation of First Nations, Inuit and Métis, and provide recommendations for more inclusive storytelling into the future. We'll also make more space for more Indigenous voices. Today, we stand on the shoulders of those who shared stories of First Nations, Inuit and Métis long before many in Canada were ready to listen. At CBC, I think of the First Lady of Indigenous Broadcasting, Bernelda Wheeler, who hosted Our Native Land in the 1970s and 80s, along with other greats like Brian Maracle. Their incredible legacy is carried forward by Indigenous journalists working at the public broadcaster today, many of whom are in the room, like Rosanna Deerchild, whose CBC One program, Unreserved, celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. And Juanita Taylor, who brings the reality, where is she? Who brings the reality of life in the North to all Canadians on the National. Thank you, all of you. Et je pense aussi à Mira Cree, qui est devenue en 1973 la première femme à prendre la barre au téléjournal de Radio-Canada. Elle a tracé le chemin pour d'autres voix autochtones fortes, comme Mélissa Molin-Dupuis, l'animatrice de Kwei, notre première émission de radio francophone consacrée à la culture autochtone. Et Samian, l'animateur de Minotan, une émission entièrement consacrée à la musique autochtone. Également à la télé, nous avons mis à l'antenne des séries comme Pour toi Flora et L'ombre des corbeaux, or Bones of Crows in English. We can't do any of these large productions on our own. So I would like to express my gratitude to Monica Ile, CEO of APTN. Monica, you want to stand up? Where are you? There she is. And I'd also like to acknowledge Carrie Swanson, CEO of the Indigenous Screen Office. And I want to thank both these powerful women for their partnership and friendship and leadership. I am so humbled to be able to mark this day with all of you. It is a historic moment, yes, but it is a moment of enormous pride for all of us at the public broadcaster. And I truly hope that it will pave the way to strengthen relationships while we walk together. Merci, thank you.
Catherine. Veuillez maintenant accueillir Nikki Komaxiu-Tiksak et ses filles Chastity et Caramello Swan pour une présentation de chant de gorge inuit.
A long time ago, Inuit lived in igloos, and there were different roles for different genders. The men's role was to go out in groups and go hunting. Sometimes they would be gone for days and sometimes weeks, depending on the migration of the animals. The women's role was to stay back in the community and teach the children the way of life in the north, how to be safe around the seawater, how to sew, how to cook. One day when a group of men went out hunting, they never came back to the community to feed the women and the children. Several things could have happened. They could have fell through the ice and drowned, got lost and froze to death, or mauled by animals, and that's just the harsh reality of life in the north and still is today. Because of this, a lot of our children were starving, and mothers, being the life givers of all of humanity, needed to find a way to feed their children. So one day, 2 women went down to the ocean, and they started mimicking different animal noises with their throats. And when they did this, they found that they attracted smaller animals, so that's how they caught their food to feed the women and children. The true story of survival. My daughters, I am just so happy that they can come up here and perform for you guys. I am so proud. This is where it starts, with our children, to make those changes, and it's so beautiful to see that happening today.
That was amazing. My favorite part about throat singing is that it always ends in smiles, laughs. Beautiful.
Fun.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like talking about the dying on the, I was like, ooh, oh, they're funny.
It was great. It's very meaningful and beautiful. Thank you so much. So we're going to crack on to a very enlightening part of today's proceedings. A quick 15-minute discussion with some of our best across CBC Radio Canada. A little panel to talk about how it is that we are going to be delivering on what we are committed to today. From the people that do it best, that know the subject matter best. So I would like to invite our esteemed panelists up to the stage, and I'll introduce everybody. What up? going to move out a little bit so I can actually speak to you guys. Very, very happy to introduce. Yeah, I guess we probably should have had you sit in order of the introductions, but just put your hand up, people, if they don't know who you are already, they're about to. Joined today to explore all of this together, we've got Leonard Monkman, creative producer with CBC Kids. He's also the co-chair of our little internal community, the CBC All Nations Employee Resource Group. We also have the legend, Juanita Taylor, senior reporter, CBC North. Leonard, you're also legendary, sorry. Also joined by Chris Clemens here as a specialist, critical to the Indigenous Strategy. Welcome, Chris. Megan Fiddler, senior producer of CBC Indigenous. Megan used to be my boss, so this is fun. As well, Jérôme Gilles Couture, he's a reporter with Espèce Autochtone, Radio Canada, and Monica Hill, the CEO of APTN. A great partner, great friend. We were also hoping to be joined by Carrie Swanson, the CEO of the Indigenous Screen Office, but she must have been flying through weather, got canceled entirely. So, but Monica brought some words from Carrie, thankfully. We're gonna vamp for a minute. Carrie is the Chief Executive Officer of the Indigenous Screen Office, somebody that, an organization that has been instrumental in informing a lot of how it is that we approach, content in general. So we miss you, Carrie, if you're watching right now.
Yeah, she's very sorry. So do you hear me? Yes. So she said, I just want to say that I'm really disappointed not to be there and that this is an important first step for CBC.
Green mic.
Green mic.
Okay, there, that's better. So Carrie says, I just want to say that I'm really disappointed not to be there and that this is an important first step for CBC. We look forward to building on our partnership with them and to seeing an Indigenous screen sector in Canada that is well supported in line with the updated legislation in the Broadcasting Act.
Thank you. I'll swap again. That's on for you. So I just thought Melissa and I are going to help moderate this conversation. We're going to help referee because we do have limited amount of time, but I want to hear from everybody. I'm speaking very quickly now, aren't I? We must be.
I think the lady is signing also.
Oh, yeah.
Speed of light.
I'm very sorry about that.
Thank you for our sign language ASL translator. It's a great job they're doing right now.
Thank you. Uliwan. So just to kind of lay the foundation for this discussion, I think everybody's bringing a level of expertise, a background, something to really contribute to this. So if you have anything to say it briefly, Leonard. But yeah, we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about some truth and some real things. So if you want to say something, chime in. Just understand that we've got about 15 minutes to crack through it also. Just to lay the foundation for the discussion, I really want to help everybody understand and contextualize what the strategy, kind of the playing field that the strategy is entering into right now. So if I can, I want to call on Megan and then perhaps Monica to talk about the common responsibilities that the Canadian media industry has to our communities, the First Nation, Inuit and Métis peoples. What do you think is the responsibility of Canadian media from your position as one of the leaders of CBC Indigenous and someone who's been around?
You make me sound so, do I have a mic? On, hear me? You make me sound so old, someone who's been around. Canadian media has a big responsibility. I think about the way that our team operates as CBC Indigenous, that we have an entire team of Indigenous journalists from coast to coast. I think that Canadian media needs to lean into Indigenous journalists and their perspectives and their expertise of knowing who we are and what we do. I think about our histories and the stories that are told about our history and the trauma that has been put on us by this country, that those stories are important to share, that we have to talk about the intergenerational impacts of choices made by this country. But Canadian media also has to recognize that we're not just trauma. We are not just the issues that we've had to face. And we have to play the positive stories high. Our stories about our language and our successes and the good things that we are doing as communities and youth don't belong in the kicker position. They belong up high, because those stories about language still being there and our culture still being with us is a response to those intergenerational issues and traumas that have been forced upon us by this country. So we have a duty to show Canadians the full picture of who we are and what we do and what we represent.
And I think it goes without saying, too, that it's self-determination means that it needs to come from us, from our people. We have to tell stories with diversity. Even amongst those three main national identities, there has to be diversity and nuance to how it is that we cover things. And a huge part of that, and I know this having worked with you, the passion plays an enormous part of that. Ownership of our stories, coming from Indigenous voices, it's a critical part of that.
I look at the pillars of this strategy with narratives and people and relationships and truth and reconciliation, and that's literally how CBC Indigenous operates. We own our stories. We allow the people that we are speaking to own their stories. We connect with the people that are in communities, and we tell the truth so that Canadians can see those stories and reconcile for what has happened in this country.
Yep, thank you. Monica, can you help expand on that? We understand, we know that CBC is already in the process of learning. We're here. All of us are here right now. We have a critical mass. This is happening. Decades in the making. And for a long time, APTN has been the voice, has been so strong everywhere, all across, coast to coast to coast. So can you help kind of expand on that? Perhaps the distinction between what would be understood as the traditional Canadian media industry, and as well, the part of the industry that is specifically led by our people.
That's very good. No, this is not working, right? I'm going to make this work. Okay. Yeah, so when APTN was created, one of the reasons behind the creation is because there were no Indigenous people on camera. During APTN's license application in front of the CRTC, somebody said there were more space aliens on TV than there were Indigenous peoples. So that's 25 years ago. So we've done so much since then, and APTN, as an Indigenous-owned organization, we're an expression, right, of our identity. And I would say that CBC, as the public broadcaster, has a duty to reflect Indigenous perspectives, has a duty to reflect all the perspectives of Canada. So I think where there's a strength is for us to collaborate together and to complement one another, right? We've signed an MOU with CBC Radio-Canada almost 2 years ago, which is fantastic. And we've been working together on original program, but also on the news and current affairs side. There's more to be done. And I think by acknowledging that Indigenous media have been here for a long time, and that we play an important role. As we're telling our own stories and sharing the stories we want to share, Indigenous media, we shatter stereotype, definitely. We bring diversity to the media landscape. We preserve and promote Indigenous languages. We are here, so how could we work together and build upon that and be even more strong? I think that's where we're getting to. It's a work in progress. It is not always easy, but when you want, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And that's what we're working on.
The industry, the media industry is competitive, and it's forever changing. We're in the midst of that right now. So figuring out how to decolonize that a little bit and work together is going to be a crucial part.
Oui, d'ailleurs, en parlant de décolonisation, on le sait, on n'a pas choisi nos colonisateurs. L'enjeu des langues touche beaucoup de Canadiens dans le contexte bilingue du Canada. On le sait, les langues qui sont nées et qui ont été formées par le territoire ne sont pas encore reconnues officiellement. Je vais tourner ma question vers toi, Monica, puis vers toi, Jérôme. Quel est le rôle du diffuseur public et des médias dans la transmission du patrimoine, des langues, des cultures, des Inuits, des Métis et des Premières Nations? On va commencer peut-être avec Jérôme.
C'est bon. Est-ce que le micro fonctionne?
Non.
Non?
Pas.
Oui?
Ouais, ok.
Oui.
OK. Oui, c'est ça, en fait. Clairement, c'est une bonne question. Moi, il y a quelque chose qui me surprend encore beaucoup, c'est à quel point les gens dans la société en général, ils connaissent pas les Premières Nations. Ils connaissent pas vraiment c'est quoi qu'elles sont réellement. De plus en plus, les gens apprennent à pas avoir trop de préjugés. Ils apprennent aussi un peu à comprendre d'où viennent certains des traumatismes intergénérationnels et tout ça. Mais ils n'apprennent pas vraiment ce qui définissent les Premières Nations. Et ça, c'est comme toute nation. Hein. C'est la culture, c'est la langue, c'est les arts. Puis dans le contexte aussi des Autochtones, je pense qu'il y a quelque chose aussi qui les définit. C'est leurs droits spécifiques. C'est des choses qui sont vraiment propres à chacune des nations. Puis on le sait, il y a beaucoup de nations autochtones au Canada. Et c'est un peu la même chose avec le Québec et avec le reste du Canada. Il y a des particularités au niveau de la langue, au niveau de la culture. Et je pense que, en tant que diffuseur public, c'est un peu un commentaire qu'on pourrait donner aussi pour le système d'éducation dans toutes les provinces du Canada. Il y a un rôle qui est d'enseigner ou de faire en sorte que les gens comprennent qu'est-ce qui définit vraiment les Premières Nations.
Merci, Jérôme. Monica, je te prête mon micro.
Alors, la loi sur la radiodiffusion a récemment été modifiée et maintenant, on reconnaît les langues autochtones au même niveau que le français et l'anglais dans le système de radiodiffusion. C'est extraordinaire d'être arrivé à ça, parce qu'autrefois, il y avait une petite mention de, oui, il y a la programmation autochtone s'il y a les ressources nécessaires. Mais maintenant, reconnaissance des langues autochtones, reconnaissance aussi des médias autochtones. C'est énorme comme pas. Mais là, il faut aller plus loin que ça, comme APTN. Donc, on est le diffuseur qui a quand même une condition de licence à diffuser dans différentes langues autochtones. On fait 15 langues autochtones différentes par année. C'est extraordinaire et il faut le faire parce que toi, Mélissa, tu parles quand même ta langue. Moi, je parle un peu, pas beaucoup malheureusement.
Un petit peu métaux.
Alors, il y a beaucoup d'efforts et je vois que les jeunes ont le goût d'apprendre leur langue parce que vous savez, lorsqu'on perd notre langue, on perd une partie de notre identité. Et ça ne se retrouve pas. Alors, on essaie de vraiment préserver tout ce que nous avons et le diffuseur public a un énorme rôle par les ressources, par aussi les archives, par les connexions, de mettre à la disposition des Autochtones ce qu'ils ont, ce qui a rapport aux langues. Et si on peut travailler ensemble, quand on parlait beaucoup, moi je trouve que le futur de l'industrie, c'est la collaboration. Moi, je crois vraiment à ça. Et Catherine et moi, je pense qu'on pense de la même façon. Alors, lorsqu'on a commencé à parler en 2019, tout de suite, on s'est dit comment est-ce qu'on peut collaborer ensemble. Et ce n'était pas pour mettre à l'avant APTN, CBC, Radio-Canada, mais mettre à l'avant les histoires des Autochtones et nos cultures et nos langues et comment qu'on peut faire pour les préserver et faire la promotion.
Oui, et puis en plus, en tant qu'animatrice d'une émission francophone, je sais aussi qu'est-ce que c'est la réalité de ne pas pouvoir inviter des membres des communautés autochtones à cause de cette barrière de la langue-là et de vouloir créer aussi des personnes qui seraient intéressées à apprendre les langues pour que nos enfants aient des personnes avec qui parler dans le futur. Donc, je pense que c'est un beau début de discussion pour l'éducation.
So, just on the topic of the regional distinction, being able to reach across languages as well, that collaboration has to happen with both sides. There's another piece of distinction that we have to talk about as well, and this is the difference between how stories are told in the North versus how they're told in the South. So, Anita, I'm hoping that you might be able to, add a little bit of help us understand that context of how it is that this strategy can be effective in a place where we have a great deal of trust and there is a reliance. These are lifeline services that we're offering in the North. Can you tell me a little bit about what still needs to be done and what needs to be maintained?
Well, am I on? I am on. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My experiences working in journalism has mostly been in the North, so it's hard for me to sort of distinct, the differences between the North and the South and identifying those objectives that you've asked for. But working in the North, as you mentioned, it is a lifeline. It's an essential service in the North, and we've heard it earlier in that CBC radio and CBC television is the way Northerners and people across the country in the small remote communities and First Nations, that's how they got their news and that's how they got their information. And it's still like that today. That is still a very high power way of communication between people. The thing about working and living in the North and being able to tell stories from Northerners, about Northerners, for Canadians and for Northerners themselves, is, you know, the relationship is so strong. It's strong between the CBC and other media outlets, but strong between the CBC and the people in the communities. You have to build that trust, you have to build that relationship in order to get those stories, in order to be able to tell people stories for Canadians, because Northerners have been telling stories for years, forever they've been telling stories, and now we are getting the opportunity, and especially with the strategy, we are getting a stronger opportunity to be able to tell Northerner stories that are so important. I just want to quickly reflect on an example that I have when I'm talking about relationships. When we were in Enterprise, Northwest Territories this summer, and we were following the Prime Minister of Canada there because he wanted to witness the devastation that the wildfires that burned more than 90%, almost a whole community to the ground this summer. So the Prime Minister went there to go and witness this, and he was accompanied, of course, by officials from the Northwest Territories. And when I speak about relationships that we have with people in the North and that we've built so hard and to gain that trust from them, I like to use the example that we're running, us reporters in the pool are running along trying to keep up with the Prime Minister and with then Premier Carolyn Cochrane, and as well Member Parliament Michael McLeod. So there I am, running along with them. And then there's Carolyn Cochrane. Hi, Juanita. And then there's Michael McLeod. Hi, Juanita. And there's the Prime Minister. He just kept walking right along. But that just goes to show that we hold very dear the relationships that we have with the people who live and work in the North and who make decisions on behalf of Northerners. And as communicators that we can be to help Northerners hear those stories, that the relationships are very strong and very tight-knit.
Yes, thank you. I'm fanboying a little bit because Juanita's here. I'm thinking that this next question about Indigenous women, you may have to translate it for us as well.
Okay. Depuis que la commission d'enquête Vérité-Réconciliation, on parle de plus en plus des femmes autochtones et de leur combat et de leur succès. Un des commentaires que j'entends souvent, c'est « parler de nous quand nous sommes encore en vie ». Mais j'entends aussi qu'il y a de la fatigue d'entendre parler de ces enjeux. Comment peut-on continuer de parler des enjeux, mais aussi de célébrer nos avancements? Quelles histoires vous avez envie d'entendre à propos des femmes autochtones? I'm going to translate because we need... I'm doubling my job. Since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we talk more and more about Indigenous women, their fight, and also their success. One of the comments that I hear often is like, talk about us when we're still alive. But I also hear that there's a general fatigue about hearing about those stories. So yes, it's a true comment. How can we talk about these issues, but also talk and celebrate our advancement? What stories do you want to hear about Indigenous women? We were thinking about Juanita, Chris, and Monica. The women, Chris. Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah. Hello. I think about the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls and Two-Spirited Peoples Inquiry Report and the research that they pointed to describing these missing and murdered relatives of ours as not being considered newsworthy victims. I think that since that inquiry report has come out and raised so much awareness about this, that women, two-spirited people and girls who've gone missing and been killed have become newsworthy, are newsworthy, and we have lots of really meaningful examples of those stories being told, including CBC Manitoba's Mother, Sister, Daughter project, which was discussed earlier. but as Megan pointed to, we can't just be newsworthy victims. We also have to be leaders and matriarchs and chiefs in our own communities, ministers, and good relatives to one another. And so I think part of it is about recognizing the resilience and the success of Indigenous women. And again, there's lots of good examples of that coming from CBC Indigenous, coming from CBC outlets across the country. I read a great article the other day about Ontario Native Women's Association conference that was celebrating Indigenous women's resilience and success. So that is a key part of it, and also just ensuring the representation. We have some very amazing and powerful presenters and hosts and journalists here today, ensuring that women have access to those roles of leadership in telling those stories.
I said that I wanted to ask you first, but I think because of time constraint, I would like to direct the question to Megan, if you don't mind.
To me?
Yes.
Can you give me the question again?
Because of the fact that as Indigenous women, we're really over-present in bad news, but also we now have celebration of good news. Often it seems like a dichotomous, so how can we talk about each other or ourselves in a good way going on?
I think it's what I touched on earlier, is just, you know, it's not just covering those stories of trauma and when the bad things happen. I mean, for Indigenous folks, it's fire, it's death, it's bad things, it's this issue, it's that issue. And so Canadians get a perspective of us that we're just constantly in trauma, and we're not. We're thriving, and we're succeeding, and we're teaching our children how to do those things, and we're teaching them how to speak their language again that, you know, their parents may not have. And so it's, you know, look around the room and see all the amazing Indigenous women leaders and faces here. And what are they doing, and who are they talking to, and who are they holding up? And it's covering stories of sports and language and, you know, goats on reses. It's all of those things. But it's the things, it's those silly stories that like get the biggest reaction for us. It's because everybody in the community is looking for the good story. And it's the story that, I mean, it might be about a res goat, or it might be about somebody playing hockey, or someone who's like crazy good at archery, but someone that's in the East Coast sees someone doing that in the West Coast, and they're like, that could be me, or that is me, or that's my sister, or that's my brother. And so it connects us all, and it makes it's either going to say, hey, I can do that, or say, hey, I'm doing that, talk to me too. And it's looking to youth and telling you stories and seeing all the amazing things that they're doing. So there's so many ways that we can, and so many stories that we can tell to give a full perspective of who we are as Indigenous women, but Indigenous people and men and all of them. So
I'm all about the res goats and the Baby Yoda story, so I'm with you guys.
Just to wrap things up, Megan, you touched on this, and I've spent a great deal of time with Chris working with new journalists. The Pathways to Journalism program is finding enormous success. And all across the engagement sessions, we've been talking and hearing feedback regularly about programming for youth, how important that is. It's about the foundation of cultural reclamation and revitalization. This is language. And also, people love stories with kids, love that. But actually connecting with kids in a fresh way. Leonard, I know as a producer now, specifically in Indigenous content with CBC Kids, and as a father, and you were once a child.
Once upon a time.
Can you tell me about the types of things that you keep in mind, you know, as you're helping produce this, just to take us out? Let's talk about the kids a bit.
Can you hear me? So one of the biggest things that I take into consideration is that I'm one of a very few people that work in CBC Kids. I might be the only Indigenous person that works out of the 60-person team that's there. I have a responsibility to say we need to try to put Indigenous programming on the TV, on the websites, on CBC Kids News, on their TikTok channels, on every single piece, that's not just Anishinaabe centric. It needs to include Ojibwe, it needs to include Cree, it needs to include Gitxsan, Inuit, Métis perspectives, and that's one of the biggest responsibilities that I have, is to make sure that Canadian kids across the country aren't just getting a pan-Indigenous perspective on who we are as Indigenous peoples. And to say, you know what, like, I think we should try to be as nation distinct as possible. In every single community bureau that CBC has across the country, there are Indigenous communities that are near or in that particular region. And that's the difference between, you know, I can't be the expert for everything that is Mi'kmaq. I can't be the expert for anything that is Wolastoqey. When we went to the North American Indigenous Games this year, I relied on you because you have that experience. And so the CBC needs to take those, what they know as best practices, that say, you know what, when we're going to Iqaluit, we're talking to Inuit reporters there, and they know their communities better than I know. And even though I'm Indigenous, I don't know anything about them the way that they know it. And so we need to hire and bring in every single person in every community that, to make sure that they have representation, to say, you know what, we're going to train you, we're going to bring you up to speed, we're going to bring the best talent that exists in each of these communities, so that when we hire them, there's an understanding that says, we're gonna put out the best of the best, and in turn, you're going to give our communities a boost, right? We're going to say to our communities, this is the most important relationship, here is how things should go. And I think back about, you know, things like projects, you know, for so long, non-Indigenous employees will come to us and be like, hey, we've got this project in mind, what do you think of this, this, and this? Instead of us saying, you know what, here's all of the different ideas that we have for XYZ, for documentaries, for anything, you know, there's just so much that we could do, but it's a matter of, you tell me what the limits are, and we're gonna try to push past those limits.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Uncle.
D'ailleurs, j'aimerais en profiter parce que l'importance de la jeunesse est omniprésente dans toutes les étapes, justement, dans tout le dialogue qui a déjà eu lieu. Et je pense que c'est important de souligner la présence aujourd'hui des ambassadeurs, de jeunes ambassadeurs qui sont venus aider à l'événement. Et je veux juste vous dire, quand on voit des jeunes qui sont impliqués à ce niveau-là, watchez-les parce que vous allez les voir dans quelques années, ils vont sûrement être nos leaders. So I wanted to remind people that during the entire contribution of people, the concern around youth was really important. And today I want to really acknowledge the youth ambassador that's come and help the CBC launch event. And I always say, when you see these youth involved on their own time, watch out, because they're going to be our future leader one day.
Can I quickly interrupt?
Yeah, go for it.
Speaking about youth, speaking about kids, I just want my son, 11-year-old Nico Jr., to stand up and say hello to everybody.
Hey, Nico.
Just say hello. Just a quick note to add that this is not punishment for you, son, to make you sit here this afternoon for too much screen time, but this is to acknowledge youth, as you just mentioned.
Yes.
And that this strategy is to help youth like my son and like these fine young youth over here too, that we're moving forward.
Thank you. So again, thank you very much. Good Jerome, Leonard, Megan, Chris, Monica, Juanita. Thank you guys very much.
Merci, Chinishko maintenant.
So yeah, we can have a step down.
We're too comfortable.
Things are about to get real exciting right now. I happen to know the next group that's going to be joining us for a cultural presentation is so deadly. I had the privilege of reporting on them. I haven't seen them yet today, but I know that they're here somewhere because nobody's told me otherwise. I'm very happy to invite the Ivan Flett Memorial Dancers to grace us with their deadly presence. You need to get the chair back. The chairs? The chairs are in the way now. Oh. You gonna go? Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna step down in front of the stage? Okay, perfect. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Step out front. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. How are you all doing? We are very pleased to be a part of your event here today. This is how we share and spread our culture, which is through the Red River Jig. And just a little intro on us. Our mission and purpose is to bring hope, motivation, and inspiration to people everywhere, young and old, near and far. We travel the world with this dance, hoping to share and spread our culture through the Red River Jig. In doing so, these kids have been so inspirational to many, many communities all across the nation of Canada and everywhere else, of course. So we are minus one member here today, but these kids are having their work cut out for them. Let me please welcome them up here. This is Mikey Harris and Sienna Harris. Come on up here, guys. So again, we are so pleased to be a part of this. This is how we share and spread our culture. Please welcome the Ivan Flett Memorial Dancers.
Holy. You've heard the expression, yeah, performance to knock your socks off. I don't know. For those of you that didn't see it in the back, Mikey's moccasin came off, and that was a performance to knock your mocks off. That was great. Thank you very much for that, everybody.
Alors, nous tenons à remercier tout le monde qui est à l'écoute ici, en ligne. On rappelle que parler, c'est facile. Écouter, c'est autre chose. C'est pas mal plus difficile.
Yes, thank you for your patience and staying with us today. It is difficult to listen sometimes, easier to speak. My father told me that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a good reason. That's why. So, no, please.
But I just want to say that in the spirit of in the spirit of how we do things traditionally, we have to take time to put things down. And today, we prove that. We put things down to be made in a right way. Alors, pour rappeler à tout le monde, aujourd'hui, on a pris le temps de poser les choses d'une vraie bonne manière et on n'a pas pressé le temps. On a écouté les aînés, on a vu les cérémonies et c'est pour ça que ça risque de fonctionner si on prend le temps de bien faire les choses.
And as well to help us close things out in a good way, I'm going to invite to the stage again Anishinaabe Elder Florence Painter.
What an awesome evening. Thank you. Thank you for such an incredible show of support for one another. You're amazing, and I think if you continue to uphold what we have as a people, we're going to go places, we're going to be heard, and we're going to hear one another's story. We're going to build empathy with the rest of the Canadians. Miigwech, I will do the closing invocation, which is always going to be in the language that my ancestors spoke. And very happy that that I was able to keep it. You know, I went to residential school, but we managed to survive it. So I share what I've been able to uphold right here. Agishamani do mi wetch give me in give me na komen mino a semam bimit kona give me josh kona magwan give me kiba man when mishomis mi wetch give me kit got the bench get conjugan of me wing gab me join me wing again ge atsu kanak gab me na wat aviot kan son danimang wabanong shawanong ningavionong kiwedinong again mama nanake me wetch gab me nanan gab me mamon going kino ngoya Kagib me niganshkamwat, we know CBC. Kab me niganshkamwat, ingajip me binamang, me know ye, give him matazin in anan, wasa, ingaji indi going, unjigini jansin anik, is wasa, nigan, animishomis, miswen mishnam, pavejigon, George Kobineshi, Disnikas Mako, the Namagon. Kagige midianish na bekwe da mishomis miigwach kinoya bimina kimishoeni minim kina ha miigwach na magane duk miigwach.
Accueillons maintenant l'aîné de la nation Métis, Norman Mead. Norman Mead, sorry. Norman Mead.
so good to see you all. You know, a grandfather is a Métis elder, a Red River Métis elder. You know, my grandfathers came, one from the south, one from the east. My grandmothers were here. Our grandmothers were here. My grandmothers were here. One was Cree and one was Ojibwe. Our children came. I came. When we come together like this and strategize something so important, us elders, sometimes we can't believe what we're hearing. Sometimes we can't believe what we're seeing with our eyes. But we knew, because our elders told us that someday you will be coming together, you will be bringing your spirits together in a good way. And when that spirit comes together with your young ones and your old ones, the men and the women that bring them good spirits together, you're going to do some wonderful things that you never thought could be done. And you're going to do this together. You're going to walk that road together. Because that's what the Spirit does. When we're led by the Spirit of who we are, when we say our prayers, our grandmothers come and bless us. The kulik is still burning. It hasn't been extinguished yet. We have to know that the Spirit, when it comes together in a good way, it does some wonderful things to our hearts. And we can give thanks for what it does to us, how it picks our spirit up and speaks from our heart to our minds, sends out these good messages. This is how we do it. This is how it was meant to be done. This is how it was meant to be done. They said, hear the voices from the land. Hear the voices from the north. Hear the voices from the south. Hear the voice of your heart. This is what it's about, they told us. That voice will speak to you, that inner child that each and every one of you have will speak to you. Your children will speak to you. They'll be with you. The older ones will help them along that pathway. And there's going to be challenges there ahead of you. But you're not going to be there alone. You're going to be there together in spirit. And everything you do, you have to do for a good reason, a good way. There's a good way. And we're finding that good way now. Our stories will be told with what we see happening today. Our stories need to be told to reconcile. That's the action part that we are doing. The reconciliation action is coming together like this and hearing those voices, bring our voices together. That's the action part of reconciliation. That's what we're talking about, and that's what we're doing. That's the strategy part. That's what we're doing here today. I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to stand with me, because I want to say a prayer, and I want to ask Creator to bless each and every one of us here today before the kulik is extinguished here this afternoon. It's still burning. And it warms not only the hut, the igloo, as we were taught today and other days, it also warms the heart of who we are as men and women, as grandfathers and grandmothers, and our children. It warms their hearts too. That's what the flame does. That's what the fire does. And so when we pray, we ought to stand in prayer and say, thank you, Creator. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for helping us along this pathway. Because it's a rough road sometimes. It's a hard road. It's not easy. But you're strong. Keep your spirit strong is what the Creator wants us to do. Say your prayers. Call on the old ones. Call on the young ones. Let them dance, because that's what will convince us that we're doing the right thing. Hear that drum and hear that fiddle is what we are meant to do. That's what we were told to do by our elders. Don't forget to play music. Don't forget to celebrate your achievements. This is what we are doing here today. And I say, make wish to Creator, Marcy Creator, for being here with us here this afternoon. Give us that good spirit that as we go forward and do the things that we have to do on the planning, the strategic plans that we're putting in place here today, let us do it together. Because whenever we do something together, we know without doubt that we're going to arrive at that good place. We're going to get there together. And our children are going to say, thank you. Thank you for leading us. Thank you for being there. Thank to our leaders who are here with us today. We call upon our leaders every day. They're with us. They help us. And so I just feel the good spirit here, the presence of Creator here with us today. And I know that each and every one of you are blessed by it. Each and every one of you will walk away from this room, from this place, and you will say, thank you for bringing us together in such a beautiful way today. Amigwich, merci.
And with that, I would also like to call Elder Martha to extinguish the kulik.
Thank you very much. It has been a beautiful afternoon, and I really enjoyed what everybody had to say, and it's been memorable. I'm going to be extinguishing the kulik. The only times we ever extinguish our kuliks is if we're moving from one igloo to a new igloo, or if we are traveling to another place to move, maybe springtime, move from one area to another. And I remember I used to watch my mom when she extinguished the kulik. Thank you.
Okay. Dévoilement, everybody. That does mark the end of the broadcast portion of our big presentation today from both of us.
Chineshka maintenant à tout le monde. Merci beaucoup de nous avoir suivis jusqu'à la fin. Et c'est la fin, justement, de la diffusion.
Thank you so much for your contributions, for your time today, your patience, for listening, everything that you've put into the strategy already, all of our partners, and everything that we'll put in together. We've always said that this strategy is not just for Indigenous peoples. This is about all of us, and that's echoed very clearly by our elders here today. So, Dévoilement for that. To everybody online, thank you very much for tuning in today. Dévoilement, everyone.
Chineshka maintenant.
And again, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude to the museum for supporting us today in the launch. All of our partners, extremely, extremely grateful for that. And this is such a poignant space for us to be doing this today. So very much want to invite you to stay with us, to begin the discussions, have some refreshment, break bread, and as well.
Et n'oubliez pas de retourner vos